All right, guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay Will. So 72 hours, a full 72 hours with the Stylo 4, and it's been awesome. So some key things that I want to point out here is first I'm kind of going to start with the, well, not bad, but just the things, improvements that I think should have happened out the gate that really just don't help this device. And it's the RAM. Having only 2 gigs of RAM, it's not going to cut it, LG. This should be your a signature line for you outside of the flagships. Every OEM has some phone that is a mid-tier or low-price device that has just that signature about it, and this should be it. However, the 2 gigs of RAM, it's just cutting it way too close, man. I mean, while I don't have much lag, if the phone sits idle for a little bit and I start it up, there's some lag going into the app tray or in certain things, but overall it needs more RAM, and that's just a fact. I don't think phones, if it's not stock Android, it really shouldn't have 2 gigs of RAM. It just shouldn't, man. Something about this is just not right, because it's running 8.1. It's got the June security patch. However, there is some lag sometimes, not a lot, but there's enough to make me know it's probably just because of the 2 gigs of RAM. Now let's move forward to something else that I think this phone should have had. At least a Snapdragon 636. Would have been nice to get a Snapdragon 636, because the truth is, you can put a Snapdragon 636 in this phone and not have to raise the price. You really shouldn't have to raise the price if you put a Snapdragon 636 in here. There's no reason to increase the price of this phone if you were to put a Snapdragon 636 in here, but LG decided we're not going to do that. We're going to put a Snapdragon 450 in here. Now, the reason they probably did this is because the previous model had a Snapdragon, my Stylo 3 has a Snapdragon 435. So they're trying to save as much money as possible. I get it, LG. However, a phone that's this good should have had a Snapdragon 636 with 4 gigs of RAM or 3 gigs of RAM at least. Now, moving on to something else that it's not my favorite about this phone is the color of the phone. This is black, and if you tilt it at certain angles, you can kind of see like this fake machined look in here, but it's definitely not as pronounced as the previous model. And also, this just looks boring. It looks stale. I don't know. Is there something about this black back? I do not like it. It's definitely prone to scratches. There's some micro scratches on there. You probably can't really see them on camera, but they're there. So put it in a case as soon as you get it, if that's your thing, or put like an ultra thin case on here if you don't like a bulkier case, or put a skin on it, something, because you're going to need some grip. And that's another thing that I'm not really truly a fan of. I don't normally wear a big case like this out around the house, but I will tell you that having that case on there has protected this phone, because it's slid off, it's dropped, and it's just one of those things. Unfortunately, you have to cover up your phone when you're leaving the house. At least you shouldn't have to wear a case around the house, but I've broken phones in my house before, not intentionally, but they just slid off and cracked, and like, man, if I'd had that case on there, it wouldn't have probably happened. So nonetheless, the design of this phone is beautiful, but after having it for some time, you will scratch this plastic back up, depending on what you're putting it up against. Now, I don't have very many deep scratches, or you probably can't see any, but they're there, trust me. Let me see if I can kind of get it a little clean without fingerprints. You can kind of see if you can see some abrasions, and pretty much there you go. I can see them, but I don't know how well you can see them, but there's abrasions there. And it's just how it's going to be with a black back. Now, all the negatives or dislikes or little things that I would like to change, so far that's pretty much it. I don't have a complaint about nearly anything else. The cameras are great. The battery life is sick on here. It's got a 3,300 milliamp hour battery inside of here, so I don't foresee you having an issue with battery life, no matter who you are. And that's because the Snapdragon 450 is an efficient processor, right alongside the 435, the 425. Those are all very efficient processors, and they can handle a 1080p display and a big battery, and push this, with 8.1. It's doing fantastic. No complaints there. The LG UI is the same. You can go into the little app world or the LG world right there and get different themes and stuff like that. But I didn't find myself doing that at all. I just kind of flow with it, using it. I really, really like the design. This kind of reminds me of a big G6. If you have a G6, you're pretty much, you know what this phone feels like. It's got those flat, and you guys know I was a real big fan of that, of the G6's hardware. Flat sides, metal chassis, really nice. Type-C headphone, really, really nice. So the stylus. There's different things you can do with the stylus. Now, honestly, I haven't used the stylus as much as I have with my previous stylus. Not a fan of the design of this pen. I almost said S Pen, but see all this hardware around here, the way they have it, you have to make it this way to keep it snapped in. There's actually an arrow there also telling you which way to go, but just overall, it's very accurate. Very accurate. It's a good look, man. I don't know that a person would not like this pen and being able to write stuff like this, but it just seems funny that I start to think of my Note 8 when I see stuff like this, and I really like it, man. I like it. It's extremely accurate. Extremely accurate. It's right on cue, man. It is right on cue. For the pop-up menu, the capture, you can just capture something. I like that you can do GIFs right off. Like if I was playing a YouTube video or something like that, and I can just put this over the video portion, or if I just had a video that I recorded, I can just do a quick GIF from it. I think that's a huge plus. There's some pluses to having the pen. It'll definitely be in the form of, oh snap, I need to take a note real quick, or I need to write something down. Let me pull out this pen. And that's where you'll use it at, more than likely. I don't foresee myself doing as many things as I do with my Note, only because this pen doesn't have as much functionality as the Note. However, it's still functional for the price. That's what's always going to take it to the next level, is having a pen and having the price there. This screen is 6.2 inches of 1080p goodness, and it's actually really sweet. I'm glad that they didn't do the design, like I said before. They didn't do the design of other phones. They kept it 100, and they steered clear of it. Not that this is a bad design, because I love this phone. This is like one of my top phones. I've said that before. But they steered clear, and they kept it along the lines, like HTC didn't fall for it either. They decided, I'm just going to go ahead and do a regular design, and that's what we're going to do with LG. So that's a huge plus. I'm glad that they did that, because that's not a trend that I think everyone should follow. The top display like that. If you're not getting any real usage out of it, there's really no purpose in doing that up there. Just don't see it. So with this phone, you get all of the 6.2 inches right there. Yes, it's going to make the phone just a hair bigger. Let me get the other 6.2 inch display back out here. It's going to make the phone just a hair taller, but I get all of the display. You see? You get all of it. There's no nothing in the display that's taking up something. It's just all there. It's a clean look. So the display is crystal clear for me. I don't have any complaints and reservations about how bright it gets. It's actually really bright, like really bright. I keep it on auto bright. However, you could probably set it like I just did right there, but when you turn to auto bright, it just adjusts it down more and keeps it at these lower settings longer for some reason. It really dulls it down, and it takes away from the vibrantness of the display. So some people, I know people that run their displays way up like on 72, like all the time. I don't know if I wanted, it looks great, but with a phone like this, you could probably definitely get some good battery life out of it. But the 72 hours that I've had this phone, I've used it for media and no phone calls or anything yet because I don't have my unlock yet. But I'm pretty sure it's going to work great on T-Mobile, and I'm pretty sure Metro users who have it love it, and Cricket users who have it, especially Cricket users, they probably love it. It's good, man. The form factor is really nice. It's not too big. It's not a budget king or anything. However, it is definitely up there as a phone that I would definitely recommend at this point. Those things that I pointed out at the beginning of the video, that's just my personal preference about what I think should be. You can disagree with that. I'm totally fine with that. But I think this is kind of like another, we're going to change the outside of the phone, but the inside, we're going to skimp as much as possible and still charge the same price. There's absolutely no reason why this phone should not have a Snapdragon 636 and 3 gigs of RAM. There's absolutely no reason. You gave it Type-C, you gave it great cameras, you gave it a 6.2-inch 1080p display. I mean, a headphone jack, I mean, what more could you ask for? So 72 hours with this thing, man, it's been just awesome. I really like it. And again, you know, I don't have much lag, you know, like one would think, but I still think it needs that extra RAM to match that 8.1 on here and the processor. It really needed a bump, but maybe we'll get it next year. Who knows? It's your man, Jay Will. Stay tuned for more on the Stylo 4 and look for more videos and comparisons. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.